Welcome to 15-Minute Fundamentals, where we break down crypto projects and learn about the drivers behind the data you see on our charts. Today, I'm joined by Miles Anthony from Decentral Games, the team behind Ice Poker, play and earn poker game in the metaverse. Hey Miles, welcome to 15-Minute Fundamentals. It's great to have you on.
Hey Askari, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Of course. And just before we dive into anything, I want to quickly kind of preface the fact that we're filming this on the 12th of May, and the past few days have been an absolute bloodbath in the market. Fortunately, we're speaking about fundamentals, which for anyone who'd kind of forgotten the importance of over the past 2 to 3 years has now been reminded of that in a very not nice manner. But I'm really looking forward to hearing about the fundamentals behind DG's business, and we'll definitely speak a bit about how the kind of changes in market environment will affect your operations going forward, but we'll do that towards the end. And to kick things off, could you just give us a quick intro, 1 to 2 minutes, to what Decentral Games is for those not yet familiar?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's been a brutal last week or so in the markets, and it's actually funny you bring that up because Decentral Games was actually built during a bear market, so we definitely understand what it requires to kind of get through that into the next cycle. So yeah, we started building Decentral Games, kind of out of interest for the metaverse. We felt that the metaverse was going to be, a big new platform, to develop applications in, and being one of the first ones to do that, I think we felt was a very lucrative opportunity. And so we started building DG in early 2019 during the bear market, and started just building games that we thought people would like to play, games that people were already familiar with, like casino style games. Didn't really achieve product market fit until we launched Ice Poker, though, which was over two and a half years after we founded the project. Basically, just paired one of our existing games with kind of like a newer token, incentive model for rewarding good gameplay. And so, yeah, today, our main product is Ice Poker. It's basically, free to play and earn poker in the metaverse. And so, yeah, today also, looking forward to diving into a bit more detail on, where we're taking that, because we really just see it as kind of the base layer of our, greater, vision for the project.
Awesome. Play and earn models have definitely gained a lot of interest over the last year, but the business models powering them might still be a mystery to a lot of people. Could you walk us through Decentral Games' business model and your different revenue streams so we understand how cash flows within your ecosystem?
Yeah, certainly. So we have a few different revenue streams for the DG treasury. It's all kind of built around the Ice Poker ecosystem. So wearables mints, we would host wearable mints in ETH or ICE. So that's obviously a driver for revenue. Wearable activation. So if you actually purchase a wearable from secondary marketplace like OpenSea, then you have to activate it. Originally, we charged a DG fee. After a recent governor's proposal, it was changed to ICE. So that's directly goes into the treasury as well. That's a source of revenue. And then finally, upgrades. So, our model is kind of built around this kind of upward mobility for players. And so all initial wearables start as level 1. And then users can upgrade them up to level 5, which we call diamond hands. And so each time someone upgrades, they pay a DG and an ICE fee that goes to the treasury as well. ICE is burned, the DG goes to the treasury. And so those are kind of the 3 main sources of revenue from just the actual wearables themselves. And then on top of that, we have secondary sales revenue. So 4.9% of all secondary sales on OpenSea also goes to the treasury. And that's, of course, in ETH.
And if we look at the revenue composition, you have everything that you mentioned here. So you have the mints, you have the royalties, activations, and upgrades. I think at this stage, you're speaking about both the ICE token and the DG token. It would be great if you could briefly explain how or what the role of ICE is in your ecosystem. So how does the play and earn model work in practice?
Yeah, definitely. So ICE is essentially the utility token of the ecosystem. It's given as a reward for daily active play. Basically, our objective here was just to populate the metaverse. Obviously the metaverse is very nascent, and it's in a lot of cases it's empty. And so we felt that with ICE, by launching ICE and kind of incentivizing this player liquidity in the metaverse, there'd be immense value in that. That's also something we can kind of go into a bit later because, due to being able to populate the metaverse, we have a few advertising deals that we're looking into to add another revenue stream for the treasury. So it is valuable to actually just get people into the metaverse, get them playing games, playing ice poker 24/7. And so yeah, ice is basically incentivizing that, and then as people earn ice, they can then use it either to mint more wearables, upgrade their existing items to kind of flashier, kind of higher bonus items. And then for DG is our governance token. So it's basically just governing the treasury, which has taken a bit of a hit over the last week, but it's sizable amount of it's in stable coins. So that's governed by DG holders at the moment. I think it's around a little under 40 million.
Looking at the charts here in more detail, you came out the gate really strong when you launched Ice Poker. If we look at the charts available on Token Terminal for the last 3 months, your top 10 in protocol revenue, top 20 in total revenue, and then top 5 in regards to both price to sales and price to earnings valuation multiples. I'd love to hear what the main drivers have been behind going from launching a new product to being one of the top grossing protocols in just a matter of months.
I think it really just revolves around, people wanting to spend within the ecosystem. And so for us, we really wanted to build like a really fun game. We kind of had a slight advantage because we just are building on top of an existing game that's very well known, Texas Hold'em poker. And so, I think a lot of the revenue is just is driven by just people wanting to participate in the ecosystem, A, and then B, continuously, reinvesting the rewards back into the ecosystem. So, I think that's really, we obviously had an advantage on that because we didn't really have to reinvent the wheel in terms of creating a new game. We kind of took an existing game that people loved, added some kind of token economic elements to it. And so, yeah, I think it's been great to see, even during kind of a macro downturn, to see that people are still willing to reinvest and invest new capital directly into the ecosystem. So I think that's really mainly what's driving the revenue. And I think we've tried to build it so people would want to do this out of just kind of clout or just status within our ecosystem and community, as opposed to just farming or earning. And so even though it's been unfortunate that token values have gone down across the board, in the broader markets, we still see this, investment happening and spending happening in the ecosystem.
To kind of look at how we could expect revenue to develop, both composition wise and growth wise, if we recap, players buy a wearable NFT and then they either play themselves or delegate it out, through which they earn ice. And then this ice is used for upgrades and activations of wearables. So the burning of this ice is also seen as revenue, and you've also changed like the activation fee from DG to ice. Are there any upcoming changes to this either earn or burn model that you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our main focuses right now is this new game mode. Like I said before, we felt that just getting a product live was top priority, and just populating the open metaverse. And so since we've done that, with 10,000 daily actives, our next, focus really from a product standpoint is just building another game mode. And this is what, we're really, looking to get live as soon as possible. The game mode's basically just sit and go single table tournaments. We're calling it Ice Poker SNG. It's basically going to add a huge additional ice sink. So as people earn ice, they'll be able to buy, something we call shine for each wearable. And then with that shine, it's basically like a tournament entry. And so with these tournaments, people will be able to compete for, prizes such as additional wearables, accessories, as well as ice. And so this is something that we see as a key kind of layer that's going to be built on top of the existing ice poker, because basically it'll act as a big ice sink for the ecosystem as people will burn their ice to enter these tournaments, and B, it'll act as a kind of a fast track for our highly skilled players that are ones that are really good at poker to basically win their way to ownership, win their way to owning their own wearable, if they're, a delegated player. And so, it's kind of hits on these two points, which I think are really key because obviously, having token sinks are very important for any play in our ecosystem for long-term sustainability. And the second part, having a fast track way for highly skilled players to kind of move up the ranks within the ecosystem from, renting an asset to owning an asset, I think is really key because without that, then, folks are able to kind of just, or they get too comfortable, just kind of extracting value by renting. And I think that's kind of a problem that a lot of play and earn ecosystems are kind of dealing with right now. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to launch this new game mode.
Tournament mode sounds pretty exciting. And on the subject of token sinks, we can click on token incentives here on our key metrics dashboard to see the amount of ICE that players and wearable owners earn through gameplay. The total amount of token incentives here also includes governance rewards that you pay out to stakers, and anyone listening that wants to see a more detailed view can hop over to the composition chart and select token incentives. But we'll focus on ICE incentives for now because I'd like to hear what you think about the current ratio of ICE earned to ICE burned and how you're thinking about keeping the ICE economy sustainable for the long run.
Yeah, definitely. I think the burn to earn ratio is one of the most important metrics that any play and earn game needs to track. It's something that we really monitor very closely. And so, yeah, our burn to earn is roughly around zero point 0.7. So basically every, one ICE token that's emitted, 0.7 is roughly is burned through like kind of reinvestment into the ecosystem. And so right now, this is kind of driven by, wearable mints. And so basically, I think people kind of talk about this as like net positive or net negative of token sinks. And so, basically when you have a net positive token sink, yeah, people are burning the tokens, but, when they're doing that, they're basically going to be emitting more in the future. And so in our case, obviously as people upgrade, they'll have higher bonuses. So in the future, they'll earn more ICE. Or if people mint new wearables with ICE, obviously those wearables will then be a new source of emission. And so I think the main kind of challenge with burn to earn is kind of differentiating between these net negative, net positive sinks. And so, that's kind of ties back into Ice Poker SNG. As Ice Poker SNG, we're really aiming to establish one of the most powerful net negative sinks due to the amount of ice that is burned and then kind of wearables that are distributed as a result. That ratio being intact to be a net negative effect on kind of ice emission. So yeah, I think even though our burn to earn is very healthy, I think with the sentiment around play and earn recently, it's been a bit tough, but I think we can address it, and we're in a very lucrative position. I think just in general in the play and earn space to be able to deliver on something like a net negative sink, like through tournament mode, because people are kind of already accustomed to the experience of you spending tokens or burning tokens to enter tournaments for poker. It's not something that's like a new concept really. Whereas in other games, maybe people aren't as comfortable or accustomed to like spending to enter certain types of gameplay. So yeah, really looking forward to getting that out. I think it's going to be it's something that we always planned on launching, but we just really wanted to get Ice Poker kind of base layer with that initial base like player liquidity live as soon as we could.
Got it. So we could expect the revenue generated via burning ICE to go up as tournament mode is launched. How about ETH revenue? So the revenue generated via mints and secondary sale royalties.
I would say ETH from mints definitely has gone down just because the market sentiment has pulled back. In the early days of Ice Poker, we ran some ETH mints and were able to bring in quite a bit of revenue for the DG treasury. Since then, we've kind of done ICE mints just to be able to stabilize the ecosystem, burn some ICE tokens. And so I think, from an ETH side, definitely going to decline from mints because we're probably going to only do mints and ICE, at least for the time being. And so we can kind of, until macro kind of play and earn recovers a bit. But that being said, as we continue to grow, we do expect our secondary sales, royalties, revenue, and ETH to grow as more and more people enter the ecosystem. So yeah, we'll probably see kind of like a downward trend on the mints, ETH revenue, upward trend on the royalties and ETH.
Currently, a lot of the value from secondary sales is going to OpenSea via their fees. Do you have any plans on keeping that value within the DG ecosystem?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our biggest projects right now for our web team is building an NFT marketplace. And so, it'd be nice to not have to pay the 2.5% fee to OpenSea for every secondary sale, because that's obviously, just value kind of leaving the ecosystem. So yeah, really looking forward to getting that NFT marketplace live on our website.
Now, on the broader play and earn space, are there any projects that you're specifically benchmarking against or taking inspiration from?
Yeah, so from the beginning, our main kind of ecosystem that we were looking at and really studying, and what really inspired the Ice Poker white paper was Axie Infinity, just because they were kind of the pioneer in the space. We did feel that we could improve a bit in certain areas on the model, just given the second mover advantage there. The first one being the breeding model. We felt that having kind of control over the supply of NFTs that emit tokens would kind of put the team in a position, or the DAO in a position to basically weather any kind of storm a bit easier, because as people are able to kind of breed freely these NFTs and a lot of these planar ecosystems, they basically can cause it to get out of hand in terms of like inflation and emission of the token. So that's one thing. The second thing being the guild model. We saw a lot of these third-party sites develop guild dashboards and guild kind of management tools, and then handle kind of delegation to the side of the actual platform. And we felt that there's a lot of value that's leaving the ecosystem because these platforms charge fees, and B, it just is not a great user experience, like giving over your account access to someone else, or even just trusting them with your wallet, which no one really wants to do that. So we felt that building native guild tools directly on the platform was the best approach here, just to keep all the value in the ecosystem. And since then, we built all these types of guild tools, guild dashboards, where basically if you own several NFTs, you're able to exactly see how all of your players are doing. You're able to delegate natively to those players on our site, so you don't have to give up any access to your wallet or your account. So we feel that that's a much better user experience. But on the flip side, another project that we've been really keeping a close eye on recently is Steppen. And we saw that, they launched with no delegation. And as a result, everyone that's participating is an owner. And so we did see, there's a lot of value in that, because owners are more willing to kind of reinvest their earnings back into the ecosystem because they have skin in the game. Whereas, someone that's renting an asset, has no skin in the game, doesn't have to have any, initial investment in the ecosystem, is able to extract tokens. And so right now, kind of a shift that we are really focusing on as a team is kind of balancing our ecosystem to have more player owners as opposed to delegated players. Right now, we have roughly 90% of our players, of the 10,000 DAU, are delegated players, spread amongst 4,000 guilds. And even though we built an amazing product from a guild standpoint, we do think it's smart to balance this long term, because we like we touched upon before, having this upward mobility is key. And right now, I do think from our ecosystem standpoint, we do have too large of a percentage of our players just renting the assets with no skin in the game. And so I think balancing that out is going to be key for long-term health of the project. And just kind of make that journey a bit more achievable, with stuff like Ice Poker SNG. The journey from, foot in the door, delegated player, renting an asset, not needing to make any, initial, capital investment in the ecosystem, to player owner, someone that is able to either earn or mint their own wearable. And so, they get 100% of the rewards instead of the revenue split that's typically 60/40 player owner. And then moving up to, owning several NFTs and then starting your own guild and kind of like guiding and incentivizing that upward mobility as much as we can.
Got it. You mentioned your 10,000 daily active users a few times, and I'd love to hear how you're looking at scaling your user base and I guess scaling metaverse adoption in general.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, the 10,000 DAU is kind of tiny from Web 2 standpoint. But from Web 3 and metaverse standpoint specifically, it's considerable amount of users. It's actually 60% of Decentraland's users. And so, we've seen a lot of value in this in the short term, with just advertising partnerships with, well-known brands. Um, and so, we do want to continue growing that side of our, ecosystem. But then again, we do want to, reach the scale and reach the numbers that Axie was able to kind of push the limits with 2 million, 3 million users daily at their peak. And so part of our product roadmap right now as well is we have an entirely separate product and engineering team that's working on a mobile first experience. And we feel that with our mobile product, we're basically trying to recreate what we have in the metaverse, which is lower barriers to entry, kind of cheaper, wearables, lower rewards, obviously, to correspond to those cheaper wearables, and then also a tournament mode that acts as a huge ice sink that's accessible and easy to participate in. Because as much as it kind of hurts to say it at this point, the metaverse is still excruciatingly early. And it's not a good user experience yet for most people, just given the computer that's required, kind of some of the delays and lagginess, and the requirement of having a wallet on your browser. And so to achieve the scale that we want with Ice Poker, millions of daily actives, a mobile product, a mobile first product, where we kind of create the entire experience as opposed to building into some other platform, is going to be essential in that. And we see that this will play a huge role in kind of just a larger funnel that kind of funnels into the metaverse product that we see as kind of becoming a more premium product. So yeah, that's a huge focus. And then in terms of other metaverses, we haven't started building in any other metaverses. We've been keeping a close eye on all of the other competitors to Decentraland that we feel could potentially be a host of Ice Poker games or Decentral Games games in the future. And yeah, even though we haven't built, we very close with the folks at Yuga Labs. Got to talk to them a bit about their virtual world, and I know they've been pretty active in promoting their land sale. And I've even seen some pretty amazing footage from their actual 3D environment. But they don't have an SDK public yet, so we can't really start building. But we'd love to explore that once their SDK goes live.
Looking forward to seeing how you guys crack the challenge of scaling the metaverse, and also how user behavior develops over the months and years to come with this change in sentiment towards the market. And as the macro environment is in this state of uncertainty and equities have been taking a proper beating, I'd like to ask how Decentral Games is positioned for the case that we stay in this bear market for several years to come and all hype disappears, funding disappears, etc.
As much as it sucks to be in this kind of environment, I think DG is positioned, very well to weather any bearish market for several years. We have a runway in the company. We have a well-capitalized treasury. We have a team. We've been able to make amazing additions to the team, in the last couple months. And so, and as well as, amazing partners all around. So I think, from a positioning standpoint, we're going to keep building through any bear market. And like we touched upon before, we were founded during a bear market. So we understand, what it takes to get through a bear market. And so, yeah, I think at this point, I think it's really key for us to just lean into one of our key advantages right now, which is just having a live product with real users and just continue delivering value to those users. And so we can continue growing. It's obviously tough to fight macro headwinds, but I think regardless of the market, people will enjoy playing poker, and the metaverse is here to stay. Obviously, I think there's going to be a lot less noise now, which is actually positive, and a lot less hype. But I think if we can just continue delivering on our roadmap, delivering on new game modes, delivering on new platforms like mobile, I think we'll be in a very lucrative position for the time that the next cycle starts. So, we several of our partners even, were like Matic and like Polygon now and Decentraland were built during the 2017 bull. And so we even just watching their development through the bear market of 2018, 2019, even early 2020, it just shows that, if you can just survive and continue building and delivering value, once the next cycle starts, you're going to be able to benefit immensely from just sticking around and surviving and building. So, yeah, I think, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, I think we'll be okay. And I'm excited for the next cycle. And I think during the bear market, it's a great way to like keep your sanity by just building as opposed to looking at the charts. So personally, looking forward to just continue building.
Yeah. Now's the time to build, and it's great to hear that you have both the experience and the resources to do that. So best of luck, and thanks a lot for this session. Lots of interesting stuff and a good breakdown of the fundamentals of what Decentral Games is. Thanks, Miles.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.